Hello out there, and welcome to the best day ever. As much as we would like to be up at the lovely Zermatt, eating delicious food, hanging out with our best friends, and winning thousands of books like RaDawn did last year. She won the grand prize.
Yes.
We are here in Spanish Fork, Utah, and we are excited to share with you today. I am going to start by introducing the lovely Kristel. This is Kristel Peterson, a teacher of 5th grade at Brockbank Elementary in Spanish Fork, an expert in all things English language learner and diverse learning, and I'm really excited to have her here today. You may not know that she's obsessed with all things Hamilton and can sing every song.
Not well.
Maybe next year she'll entertain us at the live conference.
Yeah. Okay, I get to introduce my wonderful friend, RaDawn. And RaDawn has been teaching in Spanish Fork for 34 years.
Were you 8 when you started?
I was. She must have been. I was. We have taught 2nd grade together, and now she teaches 4th, and I'm just right down the hall, so our dream is coming true again. One thing you may not know about RaDawn is that she makes the best lemon bars you've ever had in your entire life. No joke.
All right. This is Keri, Measom-Francis, our wonderful friend who is an educator and has been for many years and is a professor at UVU, the best one there, I'm pretty sure. She has a Harley. And she just got 2 pairs of boots for a deal.
It's true.
Yeah. Love deals.
Yes, we do. Deals are good. All right. Well, we are going to go ahead and get started with our virtual presentation. Our title is Creators Notebooks to Tell Every Story, a strategy for all learners, vital for English language learners. So thank you so much for tuning in. And it's your turn.
Hello. Okay, it's really funny that you said that I have a Hamilton issue because the very first thing on my notes says, "Who tells your story?" And it's from a Hamilton song. If you don't know it, you should look it up. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story? Right? I told you I wasn't a good singer. Okay. But that's really what we're looking at today. We're looking at stories. We're looking at stories of each of us and of our students, and how do we help our students tap in to those stories that make them who they are. History is stories passed down from generation to generation, first oral and then of course written. And we think of words and how much power that they have, words like belonging, compassion, respect, empathy, care, diversity. All of these ring true to us and bring us feelings that are associated with them. So I have one of my very favorite poems, and like Keri mentioned, I have done ESL courses forever, and one of the poems that I always share with my teachers is called I Loved My Way Into Language. And I just think that this really goes well with what we're trying to do here today. So it says, I loved my way into language. The first sounds of my existence were of adoration. They were the words of my mother, and they comforted me and soothed my cries. I am nothing without my language. I loved my way into language. The first sounds of my existence were of happiness. They were filled with magnificent connectedness. They were the words of my mother, and they grounded me in who I am and how I relate to my world. I am nothing without my language. How then could I be anything without my language? And how could a new language mean anything to me if it were not shared with love? So there you go. You know, you think about words that we heard when we were young. Things like sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. It's not true. It's a big fat lie, people.
Lie.
Words have so much power. And this is something that as I went through my life, I learned, you know, how to talk about semantics and debate a single word ad nauseum. And then to be able to look at those words and the meaning of those. And I turned into a word nerd.
Oh, I'm such a word nerd.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I think all 3 of us could definitely say that. Yes. So how do we help ignite the passion for our students to have this same love of language and words? And I really think it's through stories. And I think that Miss Keri here, she has this amazing plan that she's going to share with you later on that just taps right into it. So I get to go run the computer now. So bye-bye. And you guys.
Okay. Okay,
Let me
we
swap
are
it
going
over.
to go to the next slide, and then Kristel's going to come back very quickly. But one thing that you're going to see on the slide is this idea that children need books that are mirrors for them, that are also windows, and that are also sliding glass doors. So if you think of mirror, this would be something that you relate to, that looks like you, that the story is similar to something you experienced. A window would be something that you can look out and see somebody else's experience, to see other worlds, and a sliding glass door is allowing you to walk into another world. So,
and the woman that's on this slide as well, her name is Dr. RaDawn Sims Bishop, and she is amazing. And I would highly recommend that you go back and watch this when you have time. Of course, we don't have time to do that right now. But the way that she explains this idea of having these books in our classroom and having a more diverse library, and what that can do for our students, and how it can let them see themselves in those books and then see other experiences as that goes on as well. So have you ever wondered how, let me go to this next slide right here. Have you ever wondered how stories can affect your worldview? So this is a slide, a picture that you're looking at now of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I'm sure I totally slaughtered that. I'm so sorry. But in her TED Talk presentation, she looks at the concept of like a single story and the power that narratives have in shaping our perceptions of one another. She grew up in Nigeria, and in her presentation, she describes herself as a longtime storyteller and early reader. And she shares a story of how she read books with girls that had blue eyes and blonde hair, and they worried about the weather, and how she started as a writer to write the same types of things, even though that was completely outside the realm of her understanding. And so the danger of a single story is that if we only hear about one people, place, or situation from one point of view, it creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is that they're not that they're untrue, but they're incomplete. And that's one of the things that she talks about in this. If I could assign homework, you should watch this video because it's amazing. Okay.
I've watched it.
Yes.
I've shown my students at UVU many
Good.
times.
So good.
It's so good, and I learned about it from Kristel. Thank you. Okay, am I up?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. So I hope you watched that video, and I just want to re-emphasize that there is danger in a single story. There is danger if we assume that all our students are the same and have the same story. I always get a little bit bugged if I'm saying something, and like, for example, I was divorced 8 years ago, and I'm talking to someone who's never been divorced, and they go, oh, I totally understand. And there's no way that anyone can understand my story because they didn't live my story. We can say things like, oh man, that sounds like it was tough, or I'm sure that you learned a lot from that experience. But to say, oh, I understand, is almost an insult when we're talking about such personal stories.
Patronizing.
It's patronizing, yes. So as we go forward, remember that. Remember, your story is yours, and your students have those individual stories that are theirs. This is where I talk about the Creator's Notebook. Now, the Creator's Notebook is something that I have been using with UVU students for over 8 years. And I enrolled RaDawn a few years ago. I said, can I come try something with your class? Because I wanted to get kind of some action research about what is happening in our elementary classrooms. I had done this with college students. And the truth is we had great success. It was so much fun. And it just helped me to grow as a teacher and as a learner. Fast forward a little bit, RaDawn, Kristel, our other friend Karen Thomas, we all got together a year ago, 2019 summer, and did Creator's Notebooks and talked about it. And then we got together again this past summer. and did it again. But the thing about a creator's notebook is that writers keep notebooks, and that is super important. You cannot be a writer if you never write anything down. Writing your own story in your own first language empowers students, it empowers adults to tell their story. This past summer, it was Kristel. We had done a workshop together, and then in the middle of the night, we both called each other or were texting each other and saying, oh, let's do creators notebooks with English language learners, and let's really, really emphasize the power of their story in their first language if they want to do that. And that is really, really exciting to me. Now, this is just, I'm going to show you a few. This is my notebook from just this past summer, and RaDawn actually gifted me this notebook. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to open it because I want to show you how authentic my writing is. Okay, right here, this is actually a little tidbit that I wrote about RaDawn. She gave me this, she gave me my notebook, so I love it. I wrote a little list about things that I love about her. Very authentic, very meaningful to me. Now, if you've never met RaDawn and she gave you a notebook, you might not be able to write that, but I was able to write that just because of my experience. Creators notebooks allow us to write authentically. I also love writing in, I love using flare pens and colors and stickers, and that makes it authentic for me. On the slide right now, I think you have one that shows some of my authentic writing. There's like a sticker of a tree, and there's some lists, but you can see that those are the things that are important to me at the moment that I wrote them. A creator's notebook is powerful because we become more conscious and aware of what is going on around us, moment to moment to moment. It's not just, oh, 20 years ago this happened. I'm not just writing memories. I'm actually recording what's most important to me right now. And by doing that, I'm creating my story, moment to moment to moment, what's important to me right now. Just like reading, creating a writing life requires you to write every single day. So I always have my students write every single day, and I just wanted to point out, oh, here we go. Let's see, let's do this one. I just wanted to show that I always date my notebook, of course. And that's one of the first things I teach the students is you want to always write the date, because this notebook was from May, June, July, and August. And there are so many things that happened then. And it's nice to be able to go, oh, on July 10th, 2020, that's when I got my Harley boots.
A deal.
And a deal. And in my notebook, I have things like, I have receipts, I have little doodles and things, again, that are important to me. So make sure you date every one of your entries. Another thing with, noticing things moment to moment, the next slide shows this picture, and it says now in the middle. This is one of my favorite little analogies about noticing what's going on.
My notebook.
Yes, you do. You don't have this?
Oh.
Well, and perhaps we could give you a link as well, and then you can have it.
Yeah.
But I like to think of life, I'm driving along the road of life, and if I focus too much on the past, I am just living in guilt. Oh, I should have done this. I wish I would have done this. Oh, why did I do this? And I miss out on the now. I miss the whale that's out there swimming in the ocean, and I love whales. I don't want to miss the whale. If I'm always just looking in the future, okay, when I finally can do this, when Disneyland finally opens again, then I'll be happy. When I finally have the house I want, when I finally do this. Or we say, well, what if this? What if Corona never goes away? What if I never I can never go in a classroom without wearing a mask again? What if? We're living in fear. So I like to point out this idea of living in the moment, living now, moment to moment. And writers live in the moment, and they record the now and what is most important to them. Okay, so I wanted to share just a few more little I only brought 3 of my notebooks, but I have 8 years worth of notebooks. So I have quite a few. And it's really fun to look back. But like I said, it's most important that we're focusing moment to moment. This is my current notebook. And I'll show you the best thing that happened to me in the last month. This is my new godchild, Adley Palmer. And that is something that I, of course, I've written a lot about, but this is what's important to me right now. Okay, RaDawn.
All right. I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we've done with elementary students with these creators notebook. It's been something that has just transformed the way I think about writing. Because when I taught second grade for many years, and I just had it down to a system, and we wrote narratives. That's, you write what they know. That's what you're supposed to do. So we wrote stories, we illustrated, we published, we had author's chair, they shared, they absolutely loved it, and I did too. And then I got to 4th grade, and it was all about testing. All about testing. Well, you've got to give them this prompt, and they've got to be able to do an opinion piece, and they don't know what their opinions are. Anyway, they've got to do a persuasive, anyway, prompt after prompt after prompt after prompt. And I think that first year, and I was hustling because they get tested on it, a kid said to me, he raised his hand after I had given the prompt and told him what to do, raised his hand, I called on him, when do we get to write about what we want to write about? And it was like getting punched in the gut. I just thought, this, can I say sucks? This sucks so bad. So bad. I hate it. They hate it. And so when Keri talked to me about this idea of high impact, low stakes writing, I was on board. And we both have read and loved the book about by Ralph Fletcher.
Joy Wright.
Joy Wright and A Writer's Notebook. And I have read that book a couple of times. I've taken notes. I just think to share the joy, you have to have the joy too. And so I was glad that I was able to get the joy back. But one of the things that I'm going to talk about, here's a little student of mine this year, her notebook, and I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But one of the things that I just wanted to say is when we had to go to online in March, that was a shock and, hard for everybody. And it was very depressing, and it was hard. And I thought, as I did my screencastifies and my Zooms and all that I was going to share more about myself. And so I shared a lot more about myself than I ever have in the past, and they loved it. That was what the feedback was from the parents, from the students. It wasn't about the assignments. It was just they enjoyed when I just shared myself. And so that was something that I thought, okay, that you can kind of tie that with creators' notebooks, like Keri is saying, living in the now, living in the moment, and sharing your story. And so this year, one thing I have done with creators' notebooks that I didn't in the past, I would have them come up and they would maybe share, but you always have those kids who don't want to share. And so I wanted to make it more safe for everybody. So we've created our little creators notebook groups, and we don't do it every day, but we did today. We got together with our group and everybody shared. And as I walk around, everybody is sharing, even those reluctant ones that don't want to share, they are involved because there's only, 4 other kids right there. And so that was kind of a cool thing that actually it was Karen Thomas, when we got together for Creators Notebook at your house, that made me think, yeah, I'm going to do that, because I think the sharing is really an important piece
And so
that I hadn't done before.
And if it's safe, that sharing is so motivating. And I think another thing that is motivating is that, thank you, is that students are sharing what they know. So that increases the confidence. Even if I don't speak English as my first language, I can share in my I can share in my first language. I can share in Spanish. I can share in Russian, or I can share in English. But it's about what I know not what the teacher told me to say,
Yeah.
or or even a prompt.
Exactly. So this next slide, because you always have those students who say, I don't know what to write about. I don't know what to write about. And so these are just some ideas. And it's actually been kind of fun this week because our principal has talked a lot this week about gratitude on the morning announcement. So she'll say, I want you to think of 3 things that you're grateful for. So I have immediately, and I was in Kristel's room one morning, have gone to the board and written down, okay, here for Creator's Notebook, you're going to write 3 things you're grateful for. And a lot of times I don't give them anything for Creator's Notebook because we want it to be their story, their own writing. But it is kind of nice once in a while to have something like that, especially for these ones that say, I don't know what to write about. So
And in this notebook, I have a section that's just called grateful. Sometimes you'll notice we have little tab sections in our notebooks, but in this one I have a tab that's called grateful. And it's something that you can always think of something that you're grateful for.
exactly. So that was one of the ideas we have on this slide. Also, sometimes writing is hard for kids with their fine motor skills and whatever things they have going on. So drawing something has been something that's been motivating for a couple of my little people this year. What happened in the past 24 hours? What are your weekend plans? Those kinds of things are what we can maybe prompt them. I hate to use the word prompt.
I know.
Can I just say I don't like that word?
I don't either.
But to help them when they think they don't have anything to write about. And I have noticed, here we are, October, that I get a lot less of that when we take out our Creator's Notebooks.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's just, they know they're expected to write. They know that they're going to write.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is. So
Yes.
anyway, writing their own story, writing what's important to them, and sharing is also a big thing. And I think that's important for the ELLs that we have, is to share,
Yes.
helping them with their language and being able to have a small group to share something in is important for them,
For sure.
for everybody.
All right, well, thank you. Another thing, we've talked a lot about authentic writing, and RaDawn mentioned drawing pictures, and it's always fun for me to come into classrooms, and kids are honestly like, I can draw a picture? Like, I don't just have to write a whole page? Yes, you can draw a picture. You can use stickers. You can bring in your receipt from the last time you went out to dinner. You can write lists. Lists are one of my favorite things to do in my notebook. Let's see if I can find a list. Oh, here's a list right here.
There's some examples on the slideshow that
Oh,
they
and there's
see.
some good examples. Okay, thanks for reminding me of this slideshow. Okay, let me just go there. Okay, so there are some examples on there. You can see the list that is actually pictures made into a grocery list. I mean, that was great. Most of us as adults, if I were to ask you what kind of writing did you do today, you would say I wrote a list. So there you go. List. There's a mood tracker in there that one of my students did. This is my daily mood. Brilliant to be able to recognize this is where I'm at. There's a poem that's a list. But your stories don't just have to be once upon a time. I love the idea of including recipes in your notebooks and how much fun would it be to have all the kids include a recipe and then have a share day.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, they'd have to buy it at the store and we would have to not have COVID, but it's still a great
Individually
idea,
wrapped.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Creators Notebooks, absolutely an authentic place for students to write their story. And I actually wrote a story and wrote it again and wrote it
Oh
again.
my goodness, I totally
And
forgot.
RaDawn's gonna tell you about that.
Okay. Sorry, I went out of order. I'm like a little ADD. Squirrel.
Can you reference what number you're on for me?
Oh, we're
So that I have a clue where we are.
We're on the
Sorry.
Creators Notebook. We're gonna go back to the Creators Notebook slide. Can we?
That has Keri's book.
Okay,
Oh, you're like Creators Notebook the whole thing.
there it is.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I was going to talk about this earlier, so I'll talk about it now.
Here, do you want me to hold
Sure. One of the things yes, thank you, that I've told my students, and it's been really fun for them to see and know an author, is you know, what do we do if we want to get better at piano or baseball or whatever? We practice. We have to practice. And so we talk a lot about that and how, you know, you can have all kinds of things in this creator's notebook. And I have a friend who 8 years ago wrote down a little story that she recalled from her childhood. And that started a seed in her brain about, hey, this could be a children's book. This could be a book that I actually write and publish. And she did. So that writer, that author is Keri Measom-Francis. And last year this book came out and it was so fun because she came and read the book to my class and they were able to see, and she even showed them the notebook where she had written down the story.
Yeah.
I think it was from 8 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and there are several on the slide. Like I wrote down the story. Oh, whoops. And wrote it again and revised. And I mean, the first story was really long and had a recipe, and you play around, but it was really fun. And it's fun to show kids. I didn't do anything magical. I just wrote it down.
Yeah.
So thanks.
So anyway, that's her first book.
Yes.
She's in the process of writing others,
Yes.
but that is her first book, and it is a very cute story about gratitude. It's called Christmas Underwear. Oh, sorry. Christmas Underwear is the title. So that title is also really fun. Kids love the title. Love the title. And
Oh, I have to share. This is kind of funny. My publisher actually said, I see your title, but what is the story? Like thinking it was some adult book, but it isn't.
Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of cool to be able to show them that this is a possibility. If you take this seriously and practice writing every day because you want to get better, so you practice, you could publish a book. I mean,
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool, amazing thing that we know a published author.
It's pretty.
I
it's
feel
pretty
very,
fun.
very special.
And anyone can do it.
Yes.
So, okay,
Okay.
Kristel, we're on the slide that words are pale.
Words, words,
It's
words.
you.
It's
you.
Okay.
Your
The
turn.
microphone. Back to the words. I love the words. Okay. So I apologize for the screen sharing going back and forth. We're a little bit amateur, but we got this. So this slide says, words are pale shadows of forgotten names. As names have power, words have power. Words can light fires in the minds of men. Words can wring tears from the hardest hearts. And, you know, every year we do a whole bunch of things with our names at the beginning of the year. And then sometimes we forget to add more into that and to talk about our heritage and where we came from and all of those different things. And this year I've done a really fun writing project where my students have written about their heritage, and we first did it in our notebooks, and then we published it. And I'll come flip that over in a minute and show you some of those pictures. But it has been amazing. It's been so much fun. For our Hispanic Heritage Month, we were able to celebrate that, and they made some Aztec suns and they wrote all about themselves. And it's been really cool to kind of get the feedback from parents and from the kids about how they've internalized some of that and how those words have meant so much more to them.
So cool.
I love the
So very cool.
celebration
Yeah.
of uniqueness.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so when we had Keri come in, and she's the one that I always love to have to get started, my creator's notebooks every year. But what's fun for us as adults, and I have like 3 blank books right now, because you go to the store, it's like, oh, that will be a perfect creator's notebook. So it's so fun to choose your own. But when you're in school, it was kind of like, okay, we're gonna do these composition notebooks, and last year we decorated them. Well, we can't share any of that stuff anymore. So everyone's just have their name on them, and it's fine, it's fine. But we have categories, tabs for different things. So I did insist that they have one that was called school, and then I wanted to have a poetry tab as well, just because there are so many fun, right there. Poetry is back there. And then they could choose so they have 4 tabs altogether. We just took an index card and folded it and then folded it again. So they had kind of a stiffer piece of paper to use for a tab. And so I chose 2 of the categories, and then they were able to choose their other 2. And so what I've done this year is not once a week, I haven't even done it once a week, but just a few times I have come across a poem, and we talked about Langston Hughes, the poet. He's so good. And there were 3 poems in their Journeys book, in their reading book that we have. And so I just typed those up and cut them apart and said, okay, you can glue these in and you can illustrate, you can just put them in there, whatever you want to do. And then I also shared, they love the poem Shel Silverstein about being sick. And then she realizes that it's Saturday. They love that poem.
yeah.
So we just put that one in yesterday. And so this student just chose to place those poems in there, but whatever they want to. And I got this out of her desk as we were getting started. And she is a high student. She's bright. So I just wanted to see, I don't ever look at their writing, but that's what she wrote today. She wrote a whole bunch.
Wow.
And she has some really heavy thoughts going on. And I think they probably all do. She talked a little bit about COVID and said the year of 2020 has been an interesting one. COVID is happening and we have to wear masks. It doesn't bother me, but what really bothers me is that I can't hug my grandma or my friends. So just, they have a lot going on. And I think writing, and I know I found that for myself to be true, when you have a problem or, something is bugging you, it's nice to, I'm so good at Zoom. I'm really good at it. When you have a problem, it's good to get those things out of your body. Some healing can take place, I think, with writing.
Definitely.
And so that's, I was kind of touched by what she wrote, and she's a quieter student. So I'm going to for sure next week talk to her, because she also talked about not having friends. And, that's hard when you're shy, when you're an introvert, which I was very introverted. I am not joking. They're both like, No, I cried for the first 2 weeks of kindergarten because I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to leave my mom. And yeah, so I was very shy, very, very shy. It's a whole different world now.
Yes.
But, you grow up a little bit. So anyway, we just wanted to show you a student's version of a creator's notebook and talk about the different categories that you could have, and then using the tabs with 4th graders. And you can also see and it's referenced here in your slideshow, Keri's YouTube channel, which you should all be watching all the time. It's fantastic. Anyway, where she is I think you're in my room.
In your classroom.
In my room and sharing with the students
How to tab their notebooks.
So anyway, it's been really, really fun, and I've loved it.
Awesome. To go along with the notebook being a place where students can reveal or purge or talk about things that are hard. There's 2 little girls in my life, Sage and Tess. They're my daughters, and Sage wrote a poetry book, and it is called Mouthful of Sky. And Tess is the illustrator. And I found a lot of these poems hidden away in a Google document. And when I found them, my daughter said, I don't want anyone to see those. I don't want anyone to know my thoughts and feelings. And that was when she was still in high school. And she's now been out of high school like a year and a half, and she's had some experiences, and she decided to publish her poetry. And we're talking deep. I mean, there are things that I read and I'm going, okay, where was I? But really, really thoughtful. And the thing that has impressed me a lot about her writing is depending on who the person is and what experience and what story they come to reading her poetry with, they have a completely different take on it. And I said to Sage, that is an author that you can hold different feelings and emotions. And then, look at the cover of that book. It's super talented.
Beautiful cover.
My little Tess is a very talented little artist. So anyway, writing is a great catharsis and a great celebration as well. Okay, Is it still me? I think it is. Are we on Kwame?
Kwame.
Okay, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit, and we've talked a lot about creators' notebooks, but all three of us feel like it's super important to share diverse books with our students. And whenever I can, I will bring that author into our classroom via the internet. I actually heard Kwame Alexander, author of The Undefeated, about exactly a year ago in Rhode Island. I was at a literacy conference, and I just like fell in love with him. He's so animated. He writes everything in prose. He's deeply committed to the things he believes in. And he wrote this book, The Undefeated. And I encourage you to go to the YouTube video and listen to him.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's so amazing. My cute little artist daughter, she actually designed a Black Lives Matter t-shirt. And I had been talking to Mr. Kwame Alexander to see if he'd come to our conference. And I had been just talking to his representative. And I said, hey, my daughter designed a shirt. Can we send you one? And he wrote back, I sent a picture, and he wrote back, actually, I want to, and I'll pay you. So that was kind of cool that she had that and had a little bit of recognition from him. So I wanted to highlight that book. The other one that we included the video to is called Hair Love. I
So
read
good.
the book, and then one of my students at UVU said, well, have you seen the short film? And I hadn't, and it gave a completely different perspective. So Hair Love, if you're familiar with it, you can see it on this slide. It is about a little girl, and her dad has to do her hair. She's obviously got this puffy, tight, curly African-American hair. And so for me, I'm like, this for me is a window kind of a book, like looking into someone else. And I shared it with my UVU class, and I had a little girl, and she was in tears. And I was asking them, was this a mirror kind of a book for you, a window or sliding glass door? And she raised her hand, and she was very white. And I know she grew up right here in Utah County, and she said that was a mirror for me. And my first reaction was, are we looking at the same book? But then she went on to tell how her mother had cancer when she was about 6 years old, and her dad had to learn how to do her hair. And how for her, she didn't look at the ethnicity of the characters, but she looked at the experience. And so that was a good lesson for me, for sure. Okay, RaDawn, you're going to share about the list.
Okay, on this slide, we have put some of our recent favorite diverse books. There are so many good ones right now.
Take two, here we go. We actually are going to close things up. And as we close, I wanted to share with you one last poem that really touched me. And because we're word nerds, this poem is called Words by Sage Glazier. Words, all the words we speak every day, all over the world. Words control everything. Words are so powerful. Words mean love, growth, beauty, strength, intelligence. All the words used in so many ways, all the emotions, all the possibilities. So as you go forward and hopefully play around with implementing some notebooks, share some diverse books, become passionate about telling your story and letting your students know your story. It was so fun. Can't wait to see you live next year. Now we're gonna go ahead and open our Diet Cokes and enjoy the rest of our night. Cheers.
Cheers.